I'm so upset right now. It's not even funny. I specifically went out of my way to get up early and film and finally get cracking on my October wrap-up, which this is what the video is, because I'm clearly very behind. I'm filming this on the 17th of November, but I got sick over the past 2 weeks and I just not wanted to do anything, and my camera, phone, whatever, is glitching and didn't record anything. It's honestly enough to make me think, like, just pack it in, give up, but I'm determined to do this, and I'm going to, again, film and discuss the books I read in October, hopefully quicker this time. Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella. Today we're going to be discussing all the books I read in October, which were 8 books. Not a huge amount, but a lot of them were chunky, and we're just going to cut to it because I'm sad that I have to film this all over again. Content warnings, as always, are listed in the description of the video. The first thing I read was Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. Out of my comfort zone, first Katie Roberts. This is an erotic novel. This is a Disney villain's reimagining if Jasmine were to fall for Jafar instead of Ali, and I like this. Definitely out of my comfort zone. I did enjoy the sex scenes, even if it explores a couple of kinks that aren't my thing. I think they were very well explored and very well done, specifically like consensual non-consent, which I don't think I've ever come across in a book before, but well done and well established by Katie Robert. I liked their vibe, even if it does lean into like the daddy kink. Again, a thing I don't love, but I did think it worked for them and made sense for their story. Jafar gave me way too much of the vibes of, oh, but I'm a bad guy. And it's like, are you really that bad? I can't stand when characters tell you how bad they are and then aren't really that bad. Anyway, I think I gave this 3 stars. It was perfectly fine. I think it achieves what it wanted to do, and it kept me entertained on a day I was bored. So I gave this 3 stars. The next thing I completed was Truth of the Divine by Lindsay Ellis. This is the sequel to Axiom's End, an alternate history sci-fi book that I enjoyed last year. It focuses on a girl who becomes a translator between an alien entity and the US government in 2008. And this picks up after the ramifications of the first book. I struggled with it because it's very slow. I think this is classic second book, middle book, whatever you want to call it, syndrome. I think she knew what she wanted to sort of explore and how it was going to end, but we took a very winding path that could have been a lot easier of a walk if we took just a different trail. Could have been a lot more straightforward and a lot less time wasting. That metaphor got away from me. I don't think there is enough events or plot that justify the 500-page runtime. This definitely could have been shortened by 100 pages and it would have been better off for it. There is an added perspective character who I thought he was fine, but he definitely was a flat character. He didn't feel like his own person. He definitely just felt like he was there to service the plot and service for Cora, not his own person. He does not have really any agency, and that's disappointing. I think he deserves more, and yeah, I just wasn't a fan of that. I do really like the really hard look, an exploration of trauma and PTSD. This book is heavy with that. Cora, the main character, is really struggling from the events of the first one, and this takes a real up-close look and is difficult, honestly, to take. She struggles a lot and is struggling throughout the whole book. I do wish Lindsay Ellis had leaned into more of the like monster fucking vibes. It didn't quite go there. There are definitely vibes, but she almost seemed a little gun shy on that, and I'm interested to see possibly if that happens in the sequel. Not sure. I'm gonna continue on in the series though. Haven't decided. If it's a finale, the next book, then maybe, but this book left a lot to be desired. It's annoying that the most compelling aspect of the story was taken out, for such a long part that like the best aspect of the first one is maybe there for like the first bit and like taken out for the rest. And it's annoying. It really is annoying. I gave this 3 stars. It was fine. The next thing I read was Ayesha At Last by Uzma Jalaluddin. This is a modern take on a Pride and Prejudice retelling, focusing on Muslim characters. Aisha is a teacher, but she really, in her heart of hearts, wants to be a poet, but just can't like justify chasing after that dream. And Khalid, who's a very devout Muslim man who fully like trusts in his mom to like pick his wife, and he's just good doing his own thing. But then Aisha and him meet and get off supremely on the wrong foot. Then a bit later, romantic feelings start to ensue with very huge complications. I liked this, but it almost seemed like it was trying to do a little bit too much. So therefore, the romance itself, I don't think is focused on enough. This almost seems like just contemporary fiction rather than a romance, and I wanted more of a romance. Okay, Brewster, that's rude. What are you doing? I did like the two of them and the two of them together and slowly changing. I specifically liked Khalid's development, but I would have liked more scenes with them, more romance with them, but the way the story was set up, I understand why that didn't happen. I also think, Brewster, what do you want? I also think the Pride and Prejudice elements at the very beginning were really well like leaned into and explored and done in a modern sense. But I think at the end, it kind of almost pigeonholes itself, or it limits itself. There's an added subplot that is just not necessary, in my opinion, at all. I don't think it adds much to the story other than to create like a mustache twirling villain who's like just terrible. Did like this, but I didn't love it again. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. The beginning of the month was a bit of a struggle, a ton of 3-star reads. I then went and read The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, and to everyone, literally everyone's surprise, I quite enjoyed it. Didn't love it, not perfect, definitely have some complaints, but I enjoyed it significantly more than the first one, which I think is a win. I read this fully via audio, and I think that also definitely helped. I really liked the plot points related to the Aes Sedai. I thought learning about their group and their dynamics and like the political stuff with them was incredibly compelling and very interesting. I find the main character Rand still annoying. I still find him very frustrating, but I'm hoping with where his character ends in the second book that we will like him more, because that boy is annoying. I also cannot stand the excessive amounts of just walking, just traveling. There are so many scenes and things that could have been so much shortened, or that just weren't necessary to like describe them walking, that just they don't need to happen. They just don't. You can sum it up so much faster than what they do. I'm actually ready and excited to continue on in the series, and probably going to do so faster than I initially expected to, which is always a plus. I still am not a huge fan of Robert Jordan's style of writing. I don't think I will ever fully love his writing style. He's very on the nose and really likes to emphasize what he's trying to get at and says it in so many different ways, but won't just say it explicitly as well. That also kind of drives me a little crazy. Just a bit. Excited for the TV show, which it occurred to me the first time I filmed this that I think it is coming out today or should already be on like available to me on Prime. So I'm excited to watch the first couple episodes. I think they're dropping all together. I gave this book 3 stars, which isn't like a huge bump up, but it definitely was a lot better than the first, and I'm excited to continue on in the series, which is all I want, and that's a plus. I then completed Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. This was an arc on NetGalley that I should have gotten to earlier, but didn't. This is a young adult sci-fi debut, set to be a duology, and it is a reimagining of China's only female emperor. In this world, women are basically used as fodder in a giant like mech war, and their essentially like essence or power is used to fuel the like male pilots, and they die after every encounter basically. Our main character volunteers to be one of these women to get revenge on a pilot who killed her sister, but then things go drastically out of her control and is ready to like fuck shit up. I really love this book for many reasons. The biggest one though being our main character. She is unhinged and unapologetic and fierce, and I loved her. She's a loose cannon. Nobody can really predict what she's gonna do, but I loved it. I also enjoyed the two supporting cast. There is a burgeoning poly relationship that I was really into, and I'm excited to see more of in the sequel. I also really loved the look at like misogyny at a societal level and how it really affects everyone and everything and really trickles down into like internalized misogyny. And I just loved the three characters kind of recognizing these things and choosing to operate outside of like societal norms and expectations and like reject the misogyny that is so ingrained in the society, and I loved it. It was great. I think some of the world building could have been done a little bit better or just developed a bit more to my tastes. I wanted to know a little bit more about like why they were fighting, why there was such an emphasis on this war, and also could have used a little bit more description with how like the mech droids work, because there are some magic, or there are like different types, and I had no idea which type meant what, and I'm not even talking about like the different level up stuff, and I could have used a little bit more description with just how the mech stuff worked and been good with that. There was no way I was going to be able to picture what was going on, but on Zhao's website they have pictures of what the mechs look like, and that was actually pretty helpful. Anyway, really looking forward to the sequel. I gave this 4 stars. This was definitely a bright spot and quite the surprise. I didn't know what to expect and really enjoyed it. I have to rush. I am running out of time because I have to go to work very soon. Okay, let's do this quickly. I have 3 more books to talk about. The next thing I completed was Ruin by John Gwynne. This is the 3rd book to the Fateful and the Fallen series. I'm not going to tell you what the series is about because I've talked about it a lot, but I enjoyed this. I am noticing a very specific way John Gwynne writes, and it's a very slow build over like 400, 500 pages, and then like explosive stuff happens, almost in the vein of the way Brandon Sanderson writes, but Brandon Sanderson's slow parts tend to be a bit more entertaining, in my opinion, than these ones. At the beginning, I was just starting to get frustrated because it felt like nothing was happening, but this does slowly build, the pace does ramp up, and shit goes down, and I did really like it. And there are some huge heartbreaking moments. This gave me sort of vibes of Empire Strikes Back in like a loose sense, just where like the characters are really like defeated and hurt and they're in such a bad place, and like you have no idea how on earth they'll triumph in the next one. And it was tough to read because you think things are going good, and then it just all blows up in everyone's face. I'm very much wanting to finish out the series and read the final book. I just don't think I'm going to be able to do so this year, which frustrates me. But anyway, I'm expecting a lot from the finale, and I think it will color in all of my thoughts throughout the series, and like even in retrospect for the other books. So big hopes for the finale. I gave this 4 stars. I liked it, but was slow. I then completed Middlegame by Shauna McGuire. This is a contemporary-ish set sci-fi in which this basically like evil scientist creates these 2 twins to unlock the secrets of the universe. It sounds wild, and like that is in theory what he did, but it makes sense in the context of the story. And you basically just follow the 2 twins, Roger and Dodger, who have been separated at birth, constantly finding their way back together. I like this a lot. This is definitely established that I do love Shauna McGuire's writing. I love the mix of whimsical and like really scary, or like real darkness, and I just think it suits her storytelling so well. I love the way that this is the plot and what's happening is revealed. She keeps her cards close to her chest, and slowly reveals things throughout, and it just kept me hooked, kept me gripped. I also read this via audiobook and liked the narration. I really liked Roger and Dodger and their very layered and complex relationship. There is so much packed into their relationship, and I really liked it, but I think you have to like them to like this book. I don't think this is a book for everyone. Definitely don't think people all will universally like this, but it really worked for me. I would have liked the villain to be more menacing and scary versus just mustache twirling. I gave this 4 stars though, really enjoyed it. Okay, the final thing I read, I'm not going to be able to do justice in the 5 minutes that I have to film it, so I'm definitely going to be posting a review for it, and that is none other than Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is also an arc I was approved for on NetGalley, and boy oh boy did I love it, and boy oh boy was it a satisfying conclusion to an all-time favorite series. I loved it. This is the 3rd and final book to the Greenbone saga. It somehow, or this definitely exceeded my expectations, but also was not what I was expecting from it, at all. I just love the way Fonda Lee chose to explore the story, write the story. I love that it spans such a long period of time, and how that it really shows what war and a Cold War, political war, how it slowly breaks down a person and just changes them so much, comparing them from the first book to now. There are so many things that happened here that were genuinely shocking and I didn't expect, and it's sad and heartbreaking, but it feels really fitting for the finale. I just love the scope of the story as well, how it's not just a war on their little tiny island nation, but how it really expands into the rest of the world and how huge it becomes, and them also fighting against colonial powers. Thought that was great. I just think Fonda Lee deserves all her flowers and deserves her due. She definitely needs to be more well-read and than what she is, and I just think she deserves more. I hope with the finale coming out that she definitely gets more interest and more people pick it up, because the series is complete. There's not much more to say. Check out my review. I'm putting it on the record now. I'm definitely going to do a review for the series. That is it for my October wrap up. I have to wrap this up very quickly. I know my posting has been terrible. I tried to fix it this month, but then got sick for a solid 10 days and just didn't want to do anything. But I'm hoping I can finally be caught up, and I want to be caught up by the end of the year. We shall see. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!